Right. I'm going to go ahead because remember this, you came to a forum where we are ahead of time. So every panel is running a little early. So that's remarkable. We've kept to time. I guess it's my broadcasting instincts as well. When a clock says stop, you stop. So we've stopped, and they've all got a little bit more time. You've got about 3 more minutes. So make good use of it, please. Let me introduce our panelists to discuss unlocking and navigating MENA private markets. First of all, Alshathri, welcome, who is head of regional investment section at the PIF, welcome. And Ranjan, welcome, who's chief executive of Brookfield Private Equity Group. Edward Winter, welcome, managing director of BlackRock Middle East Infrastructure Funds. And Nicholas Moreau, welcome, who is CEO Global Asset Management at HSBC. We weren't able to talk, Nicholas, but is it Nicholas or Nicolas?
It's Nicolas, but whatever, it will work.
Je peux parler français, c'est pas un problème.
It might be a problem for people in the room, but that's okay.
Okay, Muteb, lay out the challenge on MENA and unlocking MENA private markets.
I think before maybe we talk about the challenges in the MENA market, I want to just introduce, how the private equity mandate plays within the PIF. Obviously, we have the 13 sectors that we've announced under the PIF program. And each sector of those have a dedicated team working for them. And then you have the private equity team under the MENA Securities that looks at more broader private market opportunities, in which we are more focused on financial return and shorter duration investments. Now, to answer your question, I think through these 13 sectors that we're focusing on, we are trying our best to clear the way to new investments coming into them, whether through the PIF vehicles or also the private sector and asset manager vehicles as well. Obviously, these investments see a lot of challenges, but we try with our partners, whether on the public side or the private side, to continue in making it an easier investment environment for all of us. But some of the, I would say, challenges for us on the private equity side is the, I won't call it lack of opportunity, but it's really, it's really hard to find good opportunities that are investable, especially in the days that preceded the PIF existence. A lot of these good companies were owned by families. Families don't want to sell, and if they sell, they don't want to give control. And private equity is all about buying and selling. He's just sorry. So private equity is all about buying and selling and taking control of some sort of the business. So we've been trying our best to go even outside of our jurisdiction. Hence, probably a lot of the people attending today know about our investment in Addis, in which we took advantage of market arbitrage between the London Stock Exchange and the Saudi Stock Exchange. We took the company private. We refinanced the company. We even took more debt, and we bought rigs at probably lower than steel value at that time. The company got IPO'd recently, and if I remember correctly, our tender offer was around $540 million at that time. The market cap today at Tadawul is probably $6 or $6.5 billion.
What I'd like to ask all of you, but let me start with you, is unlocking means it's locked in certain places. What are the locks? Where? Because we heard in the previous panel, we've got to open the doors, open the windows, and so on. But where are the windows half shut or completely shut, and the doors half shut? In other words, what needs to be unlocked, and what's the problem with navigating? And I'm quoting here the title of the session.
Yeah.
In other words, navigation means you've got to know where you're going.
Yep.
Suggesting that actually we're still a bit uncertain what the chart says.
I think for us as local investors, we're used to the market in Saudi. It's probably for the international investors that keep seeing some sort of challenges. But in my opinion, and I think now you have two great guys next to me who are becoming now our partners in infrastructure with BlackRock and private equity with Brookfield, being able to answer to all of these challenges. And if you ask me, I would say the Saudi market, especially, and the MENA market was ready for investments. However, we probably didn't market ourselves well. And it all started with Vision 2030. Vision 2030 gave investors and the investment community more clarity. And that's what the investment community really wants: clarity on regulations, clarity on laws, clarity on plans, clarity on exits. And we are going to continue give more clarity through our work with our partners.
Right. Well, let me ask everyone, Alou, after you've unlocked your sneeze.
Yeah, sorry for the cough earlier.
But where is the unlocking? What needs to be unlocked? What needs to be navigated? What are the blockages?
Sure, and it's a great question because actually it leads to something that we announced yesterday with PIF, with Mutab and his team, which is a real partnership in private equity around the Middle East and with a real focus on Saudi. But just, so as Brookfield, we're a little bit, I'd say, fortunate. We've been in the Middle East for some time. We've been here as an operator since 1997, and we've been here as an investor since 2015. And we've invested about $12 billion in the Middle East to date. And when we say the Middle East, we really think of it as the Gulf, and we really think of it as the Kingdom of Saudi and the United Arab Emirates. Those are the two markets that we focus on the most. And what we found is we've had a very good experience investing so far, and we think that the thing that needs to be unlocked is the perception of risk. There is a real risk premium to any emerging market or any new market. I wouldn't say this market's emerging. This market has emerged already, and it's just growing. But then there's a perceived risk premium, which people believe is a risk, but isn't really a risk once you actually understand the market.
Let me shake that down. What do you mean perception of risk? Because risk is so central to every business decision, not just about MENA, but about everything. And there's so much happening geopolitically, I don't need to list it all. But what do you mean by perception of risk?
So our whole business is literally pricing risk. That's our whole business, and making sure we get the right return for the risk. We think in this region, we get a better return for the real risk. There is a perception of risk that is higher than the real risk in these economies. They're pegged to the US dollar. The governments have actually, there's great governance. There are great companies here, and the government institutions are top quality. But the way we've unlocked that is by having local partners. For us, it's very important, whether it's in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia or in the UAE, to have the right partnerships in place. And for us, that's why it was very important to form this partnership that we did yesterday with the PIF, because that's going to give us a great amount of confidence and help us underwrite that risk better when investing locally in Saudi.
Ed Winter, give us an idea of where you think the blockages are, what needs to be unlocked, where the problem is still on the sat-nav to try and get there.
Yeah, I'm not sure there's a huge problem sitting there on the sat-nav at the moment, Nick, to
But the word is navigation.
And you're very clever in trying to weave all these analogies in. Look, I think from our job as proponents of capital, and in particular in our role, the private markets, is to sort of demonstrate and try and unlock private capital into this region. We've talked early today about the public markets and how Saudi is unlocking that through various measures. And our job is really to attract FDI, I think, to the country. And for us, FDI comes in two ways. One is, it's not just the equity that we bring through our funds and the partnerships of investors that we bring from elsewhere, but it's also debt capital that we can mobilize. And I think what we've actually done a pretty good job at is trying to unlock both international capital into local markets and also work to accelerate the development of some of the local forms of capital through the Sukuk market, through the local debt markets to help facilitate that. And I think we've really proven our ability to do that. We've now invested more than $30 billion of capital across the region through a number of investments. And to Anuja's comment earlier, it's not just about attracting capital, it's the local partnerships, whether it be with Aramco, with BAPCO, with ADNOC more recently. It's really a partnership model, and that's something that's been really through our DNA globally in terms of the way that we work in the infrastructure sector in particular.
Nicola, your view of what needs to be unlocked and what needs to be navigated.
I think first the potential is great because there's a political will that is very strong to channel international and local investments in the country. For many, many years, the kingdom has been exporting capital, and today we are much more into importing capital. And the political will since Vision 2030 is huge. And you see from our private banks and the family office we cover that local wealth wants to invest in the country. And so there is this demand. So at the end, there's a political will, there's demand, and there's also money to be invested. So that we'll find the journey. It's clear that we are on a journey from a regulatory standpoint, from a legal framework standpoint, but we will be able to go through that with work, patience, and work with the authorities and the regulators also. For us, we have been in the kingdom as a bank since 2004, so we are not newcomers, and we've just signed a partnership with Sabinvest to work with them to build products that will fit local demand. So working with local partners, being local is critical to be able to try to unlock these potential difficulties.
Because one of the things you've emphasized is the need for diversity, a mix of backgrounds and expertise in order to take up this challenge.
Yes, that's right. You need both strong professional on the ground that knows people, that knows the regulators, that knows the environment, and also international capabilities. And that's why working in partnerships with local is so important. It allows you to unlock some of these difficulties and to understand how to navigate. But I would say it is the same in any country. In any country, you need both global expertise and local know-how to be able to progress and to leapfrog and to accelerate in the development.
Can I pick up for all of you something which has become very evident? We heard it from Aramco over breakfast, for example, this morning. It came from the energy minister as well. Talent and skills, whichever sector you're talking about. How much do you feel that that is holding back the ability to unlock?
I don't think it's an issue at all. We have an abundance of talent. My team graduated from the best universities around the world. Many of them have strong background, not only in finance, but in other skills as well. The PIF has launched one of the most ambitious programs in the GDPs, which is the GDP program, the Graduate Development Program. The best talents come from that program. Every year we get about 80 amazing boys and girls who come and work with us alongside a more mature team. We also, as part of our support system to the asset managers coming to the region, we extend the services of these skilled people to them, and the offer is not only to BlackRock and Brookfield, who we've signed with, but the offer is to all of the potential asset managers who are thinking about coming to Saudi or are existed already as a local manager. So I don't think that's an issue at all.
Ed, do you see it that way?
I don't think it's about talent. I think, again, coming back to our job
Skills,
and where we look at it, look at the sector, infrastructure has a huge opportunity and a huge challenge, to put your words to it, in terms of delivering across energy transition, digital, and just upgrading the economy to meet the needs of the economy of the future. For me, it's around mobilizing capital, the expertise is there, and our job is to bring both of them to the country to execute on the challenge. And if we do that effectively, we believe that we can deliver great risk-adjusted returns to our investors. And that to me is one of the attractive features of this market. You have a huge GDP, a huge vision, a clear vision, to Mutab's point earlier, and we're really having to mobilize the capital and bring our global expertise to accelerate that and to execute on that challenge.
Nicolas?
Yeah, I would say that as it was shared, the education level in this country is very high. Language issue is also very strong. So if you compare to other countries, there's no communication issues between global teams and local teams, which is very important. And so, of course, there's a question of training, development, but I think we don't have problem of attracting talent, because we can propose also a global career and exchange between local development and international development, and we can also bring international talents in. So I would say we are very well, as a foundation here, are very strong compared to other countries that we are operating in.
What about Brookfield, and particularly your strategies which you employ to create operational value in portfolio companies in MENA? How are you developing that? I'm picking up what you did yesterday.
Yeah, it's a very good question. And I'd say the talent is here, to Mutab's point earlier. The talent exists, but there's two things. One is I think it's very important to have local boots on the ground. And so you can't invest in the region in private markets and run businesses and make them better from a foreign market without having a real team on the ground and real boots on the ground. And so building out that capability is very important. Building it out with local talent, but also supporting it well with our international talent is very important. And I think all the progress that the Gulf has made over the last 20 years, 10 years, frankly, the last 5 in making it a lot more attractive place for people to move and relocate to has made it easier for us. If you rewind 20 years ago, sending someone to the region from an international office was a much more difficult thing. I joke that we used to have to think about hardship allowances. Now it's the opposite. They want to come. They want to move. They want to work here. It's exciting. It's a growth market. And so we, pairing that international talent with the local talent, but in local offices, that's very key, is hugely important to us.
I'm a bit concerned about your phrase, boots on the ground, though. In the investment business, the idea of people wearing boots and getting off a plane. Anyway, I'm being slightly facetious, but the way you said it. Let me pick up on one particular issue which you've raised, Mutab. The MENA region becoming increasingly competitive for private equity and private infrastructure deals. Let's open that up for the last 10 minutes. Increasingly competitive, does that mean it's becoming, you're feeling squeezed here?
Not necessarily, no. I think being competitive is a good thing. It brings the best out of managers. It brings the best out of companies.
But how do you position yourself in this market?
Honestly, through partnerships. We are trying our best to be in every single country in the Middle East today. If you look at the Middle East today, if you look at Egypt, if you look at Jordan, if you look at the GCC in general, Iraq, I would say also is up and coming. Those are very, very interesting economies. And once it becomes competitive, that's first of all good for the people of that region, but it's also good for us as investors and also asset managers to get the best out of these opportunities. I think just maybe I would say that if you compare this region to any other region around the world, it's barely touched. And if if we say it's currently competitive, that's relative to where we were, which is almost nowhere. And I think the future is still in front of us. I think there is a huge potential for the MENA region. There is a huge potential for Saudi. We've seen the investments that we've done with BlackRock on the Aramco gas pipeline. It was an amazing transaction, which we worked together. The pipeline that was closed in UAE through ADNOC was also a great, an amazing transaction. Anuj, I'm sure, will speak about what Brookfield has done with Magnati and Network. We're doing our direct investments through the direct investments team, but we're also allocating capital to asset managers to invest on our behalf in any sector or any asset class that they feel is right. But I'm very bullish and super excited about the MENA region.
Do we have agreement here?
Look, from my perspective, I don't think there. Look, I think there could be more competition, and more competition is a good thing. Why do I say that? I think the size of the opportunity set, particularly here in Saudi, is just huge. So there's more than enough to go around for everyone. And competition breeds innovation at the end of the day, number one. And innovation, I think, is great for returns. Ultimately, we're return driven. And if we can continue to innovate, that's got to be good for investment. I think the second thing is, the more people are here, the more people are talking about the virtues of investing across the region. And what that means is, as we invest as a first mover, and I think as an international firm, we are one of the first movers, along with Brookfield in this. And certainly, I was very pleased to see the announcement yesterday with Brookfield as a step in this direction. But the more people are talking, the more people are looking. And then when we come to sell as a first mover, we can generate great returns for investors. And just because there's competition doesn't mean you can't make returns. I mean, a lot of markets are way more competitive than here. Europe is a great example. The US is another. And there's more than ample opportunity to make good returns and make good investments.
And one of the things you wanted to emphasize was investment in infrastructure.
Yes.
As a way forward to unlock.
Yeah, look, I mean, I think if we look forward to the investment opportunity in infrastructure, we're looking Vision 2030, roughly $1 trillion. There's huge investment across the energy transition. That's building renewables. This is one of the lowest cost places to build renewables in the world. It's unlocking the liquids displacement program, the conversion of oil to gas powered. It's the adoption of new energies. This place is blessed with natural resource and the conversion of that to energies, whether it be through ammonia and hydrogen, carbon capture, are all different ways in which we can facilitate that. Then you've got the digital transformation. We've talked about AI in the previous session. AI is quickly becoming about access to energy, and access to cheap energy is going to propel this part of the world towards that end game. And then just the broader GDP development across the region. This is one of the fastest growing regions, but also one of the highest quality credit rating regions in the world. And it's that combination that makes this region particularly exciting from an infrastructure investment opportunity.
Nicola, can I just pick up, I don't know if you were here for the previous panel, talking particularly about with the CMA. But one of the points in the briefing which I had from your office beforehand was about safeguarding investors' rights, and also greater transparency, a need for much greater transparency. What is HSBC pushing there?
Well, I think for us, for any capital market, transparency is essential to protect the owner's right. And safety of a market, clear rules, transparency.
Do you think that principle is accepted here?
Yeah, I think so, of course, yes. No, I think you can see the progress that have been done. This morning we've just listed the Hong Kong index as an ETF on the stock market. Here in this market, you can see how these principles are put in place. Yeah, transparency is absolutely essential. And I think you can see that in all sectors of the market, whether the development of the sukuk market or the development of the equity market in the region. The number of IPOs that you're seeing is tremendous. And now we have the 7th market cap in the world in Saudi. So, and you know, PIF is pushing very hard to support that. And I think players are willing to participate.
No, look, I think building out the ecosystem is very, very important. And the more our peers and others can be attracted to the region, the better it will be for all. And, you know, it reminds me of when we started investing in India. I'd say we were an early investor in India. And we invested about $25 billion there, probably a little bit before the rest of the ecosystem got built. But it did, and it was actually very good for us to have that enabling ecosystem around it. The competition was good, and it allowed us to not only find exits for the assets that we already invested in, but it created, I'd just say, a better talent pool and a better overall governance and framework for foreign investment in the country.
I'd like you each to think of a takeaway thought in the next 4 minutes, if I could. But one thing which I was intrigued by in the questions which we talked about beforehand was your question about bankruptcy laws. Why did you raise that?
I think it's very important for the investment community to understand not only the changes that have happened on the bankruptcy laws, but also the other laws.
And the message is?
The message is, things has improved. It will continue improving, and there is no, I would say, regulatory system that is perfect. The mission is to continue getting the best out of these regulatory systems for the benefit of the asset managers.
Your final thought then, please, Ed, about where this region is going and how we think of MENA, particularly given the geopolitics of what is happening in a very unfortunate way elsewhere.
Sure. Look, I think from a MENA region, I just come back to huge opportunity to invest in infrastructure, huge underlying drivers supporting that, population, GDP, underlying growth, and great risk-adjusted returns with high-quality credit counterparties. From an infrastructure point of view, that's what investors are looking at, and that's what we try to educate the rest of the world about the virtues of bringing capital to this region.
Let me just put one thought to you. When I've been coming to KSA in the last couple of years, people have said, you're going to Southwest Asia.
Southwest.
Now, I'm just wondering if that is now beginning to, not infect, but give the right impression that actually something bigger is happening. It's a bit like North and South, East and West, that maybe we're a bit cheap with the way we describe the potential, like MENA.
Look, I think it's a little cheeky in some respects, but I think that the fair kind of connection to make there is, I'd say out of all investors globally, there's a greater connection with Asian investors to this region. So it's a little cheeky in calling it Southwest Asia. I'm not sure a lot of the Saudis want to be called Southwest Asians, but from that point of view, I think there has been more of an affinity between the two regions, and certainly we see capital there, but we see that growing, and there's certainly strategic investors from Europe and the US that have been here for many decades as well.
Look, I'd say the overall MENA region, the Gulf, and in particular the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, my summary is it's emerging markets returns with developed market risk. Yeah. You can outperform here for the kind of risk you take. We've found that over the last 15 years of investing here, and I think it'll continue for a long time.
Nicola, we weren't able to talk about this beforehand, but given your new chief executive and what he's defined as the new priorities and the new groups within HSBC, is that going to affect in any way the HSBC attitude towards MENA?
Well, I don't want to speak for him, but I don't think so. We have been in MENA for a century or more. So HSBC has been banking businesses there before there were central banks in UAE, for example. So we are part of the trade, the financing of the trade in the country. We are part of the support of the government in developing its infrastructure. And we are there to last, and we've been there to invest, and we will continue to invest. And so it's clear that our CEO has personal attachment to the region because he has lived there, he's Lebanese, so he's deeply rooted in the region. But even before him, we were there, and we will continue to develop in this region. We have great partners with SAB and SAB Invest. We've got local presence, and we want to develop. So it's a critical infrastructure. I would say we are local, a global local.
I was merely asking because obviously he's defined in a new way with a new board. He's defined a new way that HSBC is working.
So South Asia, you mean, or Western Asia?
I'm not going to go there.
But yes, we've put together Asia and the Middle East in our new organization because we believe that the trade between Middle East and Asia is developing very fast, very strongly, and we want to have a special focus on that.
Mutef, last word. Unlocking, navigating.
I mean, we're open for business. the PIF is open for business. The Kingdom of
Yeah,
Saudi
but
Arabia.
no one believes you're shut for business. I mean, no one's been suggesting
No,
that.
but I mean, to be honest, we always say that the PIF wants to be the partner of choice. And in navigating these challenges that you've been alluding to, we are working with the best minds in the world, putting them hand in hand with our best talents. And I think our track record shows that we've done some really good investment decisions.
Right. Well, look, thank you all four of you very much indeed for keeping to time as well. Much appreciated.
Thank you.
Thank you.